Hi guys, thanks for joining us again this week for Kelsey and Aaron Make a Baby. As you can see, it's just me this week. Um, Between me being so sick and I know Aaron's had kind of a rough week too, just getting together has been a little bit tough this week, and I kind of thought that was okay because I've been kind of wanting to do a more infertility focused video for a while now anyway, so this kind of seemed like a good time to do it. So yeah, so just me this week, and I kind of wanted to talk about just a couple things this week. Again, and my big worry is that I'm going to just kind of throw so much out there that it's just going to be to the point that it's just kind of like nothing. It's so much that you just don't really get anything out of it. So I kind of wanted to pare it down, and hopefully this will be the first video of several that I do, in the hopes that if I kind of am more specific, you guys can hopefully get more out of it. So today I just kind of wanted to talk about kind of our start into all of the infertility stuff, and kind of the first couple steps and appointments and stuff that we did, and then kind of talk about just a couple tips that I have for people that are just kind of starting out. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. So you know, like I said, we've been trying for about 3 years. About, you know, maybe a year and a half of it was kind of just like, you know, not trying, but not trying, and it was kind of like a, let's not get too worried about it. If it happens, it happens, and that would be great. But whatever happens, happens. And then as we kind of got to the end of that year and a half period, and kind of we're kind of looking back on it and kind of going, maybe something should have happened by now. And as we're kind of starting to get more serious about it, kind of looking back more at things and going, hey, this probably should have happened by now. We should probably maybe seek some help, and because again, it should have happened at that point. And they say if you've tried for a year and nothing's happened, to go see a doctor, which is really kind of all they tell you. And so from there it was kind of like, okay, now what? And so around that time, it was about probably about a year and a half ago, that we finally had, gotten in for some appointments. We had been kind of more seriously trying, not that that means anything different other than us going, okay, we're really trying now. So, we kind of, the first step was we made an appointment with his GP, and then my OB, and he had his appointment first at like the beginning of the summer, about a year and a half ago-ish. And so he went in and kind of said, we've been trying, more or less since our son was born, nothing's happened. And, and he kind of went in, and the doctor said, I'll refer you to get yourself tested. And, he kind of came back with that. And I don't know, part of it was kind of panic, like, oh gosh, are we really there at that point? And then part of it was kind of like, I was really convinced that the issue was more on my end. And so I was just kind of, it just kind of had it in my head with, I had issues with breastfeeding, and I'm like, there's just something hormonally that's just not right, and that's just this big piece of the puzzle is missing, and somebody is going to come along and say, oh, you've got like thyroid issues or something, which was funny because I've had it tested several times in between then and now. But, you know, that was kind of what I had in my head. And, so I'm like, well, let's just wait. I'll go see my doctor. And it was kind of towards the end of the summer that I had that appointment. And so I went in. It was a new OB. I had seen, you know, a couple of other doctors before that point, and a midwife, and, you know, was kind of like, shouldn't something have happened by now? And they're like, it's fine, it'll happen. And so each time I'm kind of making a new appointment with a new doctor, just kind of hoping somebody will be like, hey, this is what's going on. So I had an appointment with a new OB, kind of told her the situation, and she's kind of like, well, you've gotten pregnant, you successfully carried the pregnancy. I don't think that the issue's on your end. I think maybe you should get your husband tested. And so having kind of that second person say, hey, I think maybe you should get your husband checked out, I was like, okay, let's do this. And again, really, it was just kind of a panic. Like, I kind of had this voice in the back of my head saying, hey, I think there's an issue here. But when you finally hear somebody else say it, it's like, oh my gosh, like, okay. And it's just like, I've been kind of scared of getting to this point because I kind of felt it was coming, and then once I got there, it was like, oh my gosh. So the first step was getting him in for a test, which, you know, it took a while for, you know, him to be able to get in for an appointment, and then it took quite a bit of time after that. Sorry, it's telling me I have a low battery, so I'm getting rid of that. Sorry guys. So it took quite a bit of time for not only for him to get in, but to get those results back. So it was probably about a year ago this time that we had finally gotten those results back. And I have to apologize here, you guys. My husband has kind of asked me to be not super specific about the stuff on his end, and so I really want to try and respect that with being a little bit on the vague side, and I apologize. If anybody has any specific questions, it's not an issue to email me or message me. I'm happy to share that information with you guys that way. But for at least for the time being, he kind of asked me to not be super, super specific. But the results that we got back were not great. They weren't like terrible, but they weren't great. And my OB was the one that gave me a call with those results and said, it's not bad enough that you should be really, really, really concerned, but I think you guys, looking at these results, I'm thinking that the chances of you conceiving on your own are pretty much non-existent. So we went ahead at that point and made our first consultation. And so I'll just kind of talk about that a little bit. The first consultation was really basic, and the thing that I think really surprised me the most is, like, consultation to me kind of sounds like I'm going to give you a call, I'm going to come in and meet with you, and then I'm going to decide whether or not I want to continue to do business with you. That's what a consultation sounds like to me, but it's really more like you pay us like $200 or $300, I don't remember exactly, and we ask you a bunch of questions, and then we go from there. And so that already caught me a little bit off guard, and that was kind of my first like, oh my gosh, this is going to cost a fortune, because anything infertility is obviously not cheap, which is really unfortunate. So we kind of went in and they asked like medical history, family medical history, you know, our, you know, specifics about us trying, specifics about my pregnancy with my son, and all of these questions. They did an internal ultrasound, and then there was a whole list of tests that they wanted us to have done before even making their recommendation about how to go forward. They were pretty upfront that they thought that IUI was going to be the way we were going to go, and we were already kind of pretty sure at that point that we didn't really want to pursue anything more than that. But still, they kind of make you go through several tests for him and then several tests for me. And, you know, some of it was covered through insurance and some of it wasn't. So, and I'm going to kind of stop there at that point, because I kind of want to cover some of those tests more specifically and, you know, more depth, down the line. And I don't want to just kind of put too much out there tonight. So, just a couple of, tips for people that are kind of in their, just kind of in that, like, okay, we're at that point, we need to kind of go further with this, now what, kind of place. You know, one of my first pieces of advice is, once you kind of make it to that point that you're seeing a fertility specialist and you're going down that path, everything moves really, really slowly until it doesn't. You know, going in and, you know, making the consultation, getting in for those tests, you know, they need to do them at certain times, and they, you know, need to have the availability for it. You need to have the ability to pay for it. It all happens really, really slowly. And so just be patient through all that. I know it's kind of like it's this big, long hurry up and wait. And that's really, really hard. So just, try to be calm and just know that getting to that next step is coming, whatever that may be. And just tell yourself that you're on the path that you need to be to get to where you need to be. And, you know, once you get to the point where you're actually doing the fertility treatments, then things go so fast to the point that, like, and I personally was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening now. And it was like everything was so slow, and then all of a sudden somebody hit the fast forward button, and it was just crazy from there. So just expect everything to kind of take a while at the beginning. The next is ask every single question you can think of, to the doctors, people making appointments for you. Like I said, that consultation, I'm glad I asked if there was going to be a cost, because I really just kind of assumed that there wasn't one. Ask if this is something you can bill through your insurance. Ask your insurance if this is something you can bill through them, because you never know. And it's better to ask and be told no than to find out later that, hey, that test that you got done could have cost $100 instead of $1,000. Ask all those questions and write them down ahead of time, because you'll get there and you'll be so flustered and overwhelmed and stressed out and sad and all of these things. And so just, if it takes a month for you to get in for your first consultation, just keep a notepad out on your counter, and every single time you think of a question like, is there any supplements we could be taking in the meantime? Is there anything I could do with my diet in the meantime? Write all those down, because once you get into the consultation, it's just going to be like, okay, sure, yeah. And they'll ask you, have any questions? You'll be like, I don't know. So ask everything. They've heard them all before. And, it's hard to find people that you may know to get personal advice from people, because it's not something that a lot of people talk about. So the doctors, genetic counselors that you may be working with, the receptionist, these are the people to ask, which brings me to my next point. Try not to ask Dr. Google, because you will go down the rabbit hole and you will not come out. If you get results back, or if you have a suspicion that it may be XYZ, and then you get on the internet and you're trying to self-diagnose, or you're trying to self-treat, or whatever, it's just, that will be all you will do, and you will be consumed, and you will be on your phone 24/7, like trying to be your own doctor, and you will make yourself so crazy. And I speak from personal advice because I'm on there like, just like, there's got to be some article out there that's going to tell me the magic thing to be doing, and then bam, it's going to happen, and we just need to eat oats or something, and we'll be just fine. And just try not to go down that. And even just looking up, I did a lot of, I'm going in for XYZ test, what is it going to be like? And I found such a wide variety, and you find a lot of old information, and they're not doing procedures that way anymore. Or for example, I was going in for an HSG test, and what I found online ran the gamut between, like, it was the worst thing that I have ever done in my entire life, and it was so painful, I almost died, and I felt absolutely nothing, and you're a total baby if you feel absolutely anything. And then I'm just kind of like, okay, well, which is it? I went in and I got the test, and it was kind of like neither of those things. And so you're gonna just find so much out there anecdotally that it's not gonna be super helpful. Try to find fact-based articles and really know what to expect going into these things, but otherwise try to keep the anecdotal stuff to a minimum, because everybody experiences things so differently, and it'll just eat up your whole day. And then kind of the last thing is just be patient with yourselves, and if you're going through this with a spouse or a partner, be patient with each other. It's really hard, especially at the beginning, and it's all so scary and so unknown, and to a degree it really stays that way. I'm sorry, unfortunately. Things will clear up a little bit, and there will be elements that you get used to. Infertility is like, it's like a prison sentence, but you don't know how long for. And it's just hard. So much of it is hard. And, but if you, are patient and kind and gentle with each other and with yourself, parts of it'll make you stronger and stronger as a couple. And just try to be patient and kind with each other, and, talk through all of it, and just do your best to be good and good to each other and good for yourself. And it's really hard, which brings me to my last point. I'm going to try and cover everything as much as I can and put as much of my experience out there that I can. Again, if there's specific things you guys want me to cover in videos, or that you guys want to know about, let me know. And if you guys have specific questions or advice you want, and maybe don't want to post it on Facebook, you can always message me through the Kelsey and Aaron Make a Baby page on Facebook. You can email us. We've got our email on that page, and we have it listed under our YouTube videos too. I'm happy to help with any of that. If you know me personally and you're friends on my personal Facebook, you can message me through there too. I'm happy to help. Or even if you just want somebody to say, like, hey, I'm going through this and I feel really alone, and you want somebody to just say, hey, I get it, I'm happy to do that. It's really crummy, and it's a really dark place, and to feel like you're down there by yourself, it really sucks. And just know that you're not alone. And yeah, and I'm thinking of all you guys all the time, constantly, like, seriously. And yeah, so thank you for joining this week. I know it was kind of a weird video. We want to do kind of more videos like this, where it's just kind of us specifically talking, and it, sometimes it might be Erin kind of talking on her own, on, about, things she's going through or has experienced, and then, more from me. And more videos like this. It's kind of awkward, me just kind of sitting here and talking at a camera by myself. I kind of feel like I'm a little bit crazy sitting in my room talking to myself. So hopefully they'll be less awkward in the future. I'm not sure. I'm always a little bit awkward, and you'll get used to that. So, but yeah, thank you for joining us this week, and yeah, we'll see you next week. Thanks.